You can change the world. Learn from proven change makers from all walks of life. They'll show you how to raise money, invest for impact, and so much more. You can start small. Start today and never quit. You can change the world by strengthening your superpowers. Now, welcome to the Superpowers for Good show. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe. I'm excited today. We have with us Mark Winkelman, who is an architect who has developed a project in, what is it, Williamstown, Pennsylvania, Mark? This is going to be kind of a fun conversation. He's got this amazing project, so stick around. You don't want to miss it. Mark, what's the name of the town where you have the Pajama Factory of all things?
Yes, we'll start with that. It's Williamsport.
Williamsport. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, my son and daughter-in-law have been thinking about moving to Williamstown, Massachusetts. Different place, but it got me confused. Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and you and I kind of confirmed that this is maybe the official middle of nowhere, or maybe the middle of everything. I'm not sure which. What do you think?
A little of both. It depends on your perspective. The locals think they're in the middle of everything, and I'm out here, and we're in the middle of nowhere, which I actually love because it means everything is here. It has to stand on its own. It's very exciting.
Yeah, and you are launching a crowdfunding campaign to continue some work on the project. But before we jump into that conversation, I want to talk about the project itself. And you've got some great images on your website that I've pulled, and I want to just show these here while we're chatting. But tell us about the project.
Well, it's an accumulation of 8 industrial buildings that was originally produced it started in the 1800s, 1883, as they're a Lycoming rubber company, and they invented and made Keds sneakers here, but that was for about 15 years, and then it rolled into the Depression, and they rented out space to various shoe companies and Wendy's pajamas. They were fabric companies and they made garments, and Wendy's grew and eventually bought the building in 1950 or 52 and renovated it a little bit, and then they went out of business in the 70s. I think no one was wearing pajamas in the 70s, so that's probably why that happened. But anyway, it's a very large complex of 300,000 square feet in 8 buildings surrounding a courtyard, and we have been renovating it in pieces for the creative class, if you will, for artists and small businesses. And we do this by dividing up the big floor plates into smaller spaces. And we've got 160 spaces rented now and built. We're 100% occupied. I don't know. Is there anything I'm missing here, Devin, that you'd like me to?
Well, tell us how you're using the space. It's interesting. I think you've got some Airbnb suites, you've got some apartments, you've got some artistic space, some light manufacturing. Tell us about all the space.
Yeah, we've got a little of everything, really. You started with the smallest of things. Yeah, we run 2 nice Airbnb units, and we use that to invite folks out and check it out. We have maybe a dozen folks living here some of them are just living in their studios, but otherwise we have, half a dozen apartments, but then we've got 100 of other spaces, and we have all kinds of businesses in them. And then the ground floor is more retail, and we've got event spaces, we've got the community woodshop, the clay studio, a pasta maker, a great coffee roaster and coffee shop. We've got a bicycle recycle shop, I don't know, the list goes on and on. We have a mosque, we have a selfie lounge, we have an art store. You know, it goes on and on.
Well, it sounds like it's really a fun project that you've been working on. Uh, but you mentioned you described other people as locals. You don't think of yourself as a local. What is it that brought you to Williamsport, and what's your background? How did you get there?
Yeah, yeah. The Yeah, no, it's hard to become a local out here. I think it requires generations. Um, and what brought me out here was the building. I was an architect for many years in New York. I started in Philip Johnson's office for a few years, and then went off to Japan for a couple of years. And when I came back to New York, I started my own firm and found a partner, and we ran downtown group architects for, I don't know, 25 years. And then I don't know, we kind of hit a glass ceiling. I really wanted to build important projects, and we just weren't going to do that. We were too small and too big a city. So I said, well, heck with it. I'll try development. And I started to look at projects in New York, and a buddy of mine introduced me to this thing, which is not in New York, but we bought the whole facility for next to nothing. So it seemed like a wonderful playground, a great sandbox for an architect to play in. We didn't really know what we wanted to do with it. And this was, 15 years ago. So we just started to rent up space, and then build a community is really the most important part of our development.
Well, as you've been working on this, you've been at it for a while now. You're now raising capital on Small Change. It's a great crowdfunding site for social impact projects that are real estate related. What are you hoping to do with the capital that you're raising? What's it for this time?
Well, it is just part of our capital campaign. We've got a grant from the state. We've got some money from a bank. So this is a piece. I mean, at 300,000 square feet, ultimately it needs millions to restore the building. And so we keep piecing away at it. What we hope to do in this next round is, which we've started, we have to deal with some parking lots and heating and ventilating and air conditioning systems, and we need to do roofs. The difficulty we've had is that banks require cash flow, and you borrow against cash flow. But when you buy an empty building, you have no cash flow. And this is just this huge building in this small town, and nobody could imagine how it would actually get filled up. So we need to borrow money from outside the traditional sources to build, to expand, and allow the capital to grow. And what this has meant is that we've deferred longstanding maintenance and improvement issues, and we need to take care of them now. It's pretty clear the project is going to be a complete success, and now it's a half success. At least it's something.
Yeah, this is kind of a fun thing to think through. You're doing such great stuff, and I imagine that this is a big enough project in Williamsport to be something of an economic driver, a bit of an economic engine. Are you beginning to see that impact as you look at the artists, the creatives, the retail, the wood shop, all the things that are going on in the building? Is that starting to have an impact on the community?
I think it is. Yeah, I'm certain it is, actually. I mean, we are. The Pajama Factory seems to be hugely appreciated by an awful lot of people, and it's the young who generally leave town, and they're finding excuses to stay here. And we have a number of tenants that have moved back to town because, I mean, maybe they have family here, but they've told me they've moved back because the Pajama Factory exists, and they join the community. So it is certainly working that way. And we've also, we've sent a few businesses downtown to the main street. I don't know, I don't know, 6 or 8 of them have started at the factory, and then as they feel like they can, they move and try to get into the downtown environment. So that's very exciting to me. I don't try to hold on to tenants. I try to see them grow. If they can grow in the building, that's great. If they outgrow the building in ways, that's even better. We have a waiting list, so it's not a problem to keep that going.
Wow, that's great. Tell us a little bit about that waiting list. Who's trying to get into this space?
Well, last week I had 4 requests for residences and 3 for studio spaces. And that was just last week. And we have no spaces available. We probably have like a 10% turnover in the year. So with 160 spaces, we have 1 to 2 spaces that get vacated in a month. I mean, we clearly need to make some more, and we have room. We have another 2 floors to build out. We could probably get another 30 or 40 studios. And then we have plans for, we just can't accommodate all the people that want to live here. So we have plans to build ultimately another 60 apartments, both inexpensive apartments for artists, and on the top floor, I'd like to make some really nice lofts.
Wow, that'll be what a fun dynamic project to have. You know, I was just reading yesterday about the importance for really creating a successful community, and really in the long run, a successful country, is to have people interacting across economic situations. So having people who have fancy lofts in the same building with people who are having affordable apartments for their art makes great sense. It's really pro community, right?
Well, yeah, we will see how it goes. One of the neat things about being in Williamsport and buying the building for almost nothing. I mean, we paid $3 a square foot for it. It was a penny on the dollar compared to New York. Is that we have lots of space that can go out even at the end inexpensively. And I've also found that people in town have time. There's a low cost of living out here, and they have time to spend and talk with you over a cup of coffee at the coffee shop. It's lovely that way.
What a thing. What a thing. Well, we're here today with Mark Winkelmann. He's the owner of the Pajama Factory in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. It's a remarkable project he is developing, and we're going to take a short break now. But when we come back, we'll talk to Mark about his superpower. So stick around. You don't want to miss this. Join us at Supercrowd Baltimore to connect with community-focused business leaders and investors working to support diverse founders, social entrepreneurs, and community builders. Learn how to raise money from the crowd and how to invest like a pro. March 21st at the B&O Rail Museum. Register today at thesupercrowd.com.
Hope to raise money from the impact crowd. Good investors are as interested in community, social or environmental impact as you. Connect with Funding Hope, an SEC-registered FINRA member crowdfunding portal to learn how to raise capital from the impact crowd. Scan the QR code now.
Join us for Supercrowd 24 for 2 full days of wealth and impact creating content at this virtual conference on April 17th and 18th. We'll have 100 speakers and live pitch sessions. Learn how to invest like a pro and raise money from the crowd. Save 50% with the discount code SUPERCROWD at thesupercrowd.com. Welcome back, everyone. We're here today with Mark Winkelmann, the founder and owner of the Pajama Factory in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. And he's an architect, a remarkable community builder, and we're just thrilled with the conversation we've been having. We're going to turn now to talk with him about his superpower. Mark, you've had just a stellar career. You've done so many cool things, and I just love this project. It's beautiful in every way. It appeals to me on so many levels. I can see why you, as an architect with that eye for beauty, would be drawn to this project, and I love what you're doing with it. What do you see as your superpower?
I know you. This is the point of the show, and I don't have hard answer for this, but I, I, I don't think anybody else could do what I'm doing here, and that's because of certain skills that I've acquired, and they all come together. One of them is architecture, of course, but I also worked on historic buildings in New York for a long time. I lived in a loft. I got to appreciate historic buildings, historic factory buildings specifically. So that's the first piece. How do we work with these things? And I've had a lot of experience with that because I moved into Lower Manhattan in the 80s. And that was the beginning of the loft movement in many ways. So I've been around that for a long time. And I think the other thing is I really like people, and I like to help them and see what they're about, and introduce them to other folks, which is really community building. So the building becomes the crucible for all that to happen. And I think it's those two pieces. Well, no, there's a third. There's a third one, which I've been an active ceramist. I'm a craftsman. I love the crafts, which is a little different than the fine arts. And I believe actually that architecture is first a craft, which is to make something work. And then there's the next level, which is to make it work beautifully. And then if you keep going, then you enter the fine arts. But you have to start with the crafts, have to make things work. And I've always had an appreciation for that. And I like to get my hands dirty. I mean, obviously, if I'm playing with clay and ceramics, that's true. But so yeah. I think it's those combinations. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a fascinating combination. Obviously, training and skill and experience related to real estate and development, and your experience even living in a loft. You combine that with your love of people, your ability to interact and connect people to one another, and then finally this idea of being a craftsman. And I'd like to kind of drill down on that. And the reason is I've never had a guest that saw that as an element of their superpowers. And I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant to be thinking about what we do as a craft, and certainly as an architect, it's more literally true. As someone who works with ceramics, it is literally true. But I think there's also a metaphorical level. Do you see that metaphorical level being relevant? I kind of got that maybe from what you were saying. Am I on the wrong track, or is there something there?
No, I think you are. I mean, I have not heard others talk about architecture being a craft the way I did. There are people that put up a building and they're buildings, and then there are people that make make an art statement with buildings. I did not hear fellow architects talking about the craft of architecture so much. So I mean, in a way, I'm pushing the ceramics idea into the world of architecture. I guess it goes a step further with community building, which has nothing to do with the physical. It has everything to do with people and interactions of people. And it takes care. You have to, what is a craft? Craft is you're making something better than it needs to be. And to simply function. So if you do that with everything in life, I think that's a wonderful thing. And I don't know, it seems that, I don't know that I'm doing it better than I know how all the time. That doesn't mean it's great, but I strive for that.
Yeah, it's a fascinating idea here because you're talking about, at least in part, this idea of taking something from the level of a skill and moving it in the direction of art with beauty as a goal along the way. And I think that's relevant for a lot of people. I mean, even people who are writing software code. At some level, they want it to look beautiful. They want it to look professional. They want it to look good.
Well, it's
As you,
not only look, right? It's work beautifully. It
yeah,
so it yeah, it goes to all levels.
yeah. So if you were trying to think about how to coach someone else to be a better craftsperson, to, to, to be better, to push toward that level of fine art, how would you coach someone to develop that skill and ability?
Well, I mean, it's a good question, Devin. When I when I'm working on architecture, I get a I get a brief, build a house. But then, and that's simple enough, you put some bedrooms together and you make the thing work. But what I then do is proceed to take maybe that simple problem and make it complicated. Add in all these other aspects. Where's the sun come up? Where's the weather coming from? How many guests come in? How often? How does this structure work? And ideally work in so many different ways. Make a really complicated problem, and then try to solve that problem. And then maybe it's beautiful because it sort of works on so many levels. So I do the same thing with a piece of pottery or with a piece of clay. There's a coffee cup, but how do you make it something more than just a coffee cup? You have to set up some standards and goals. You need goals. I guess that's really where it's coming from, is you need to define some goals, and then you have something to shoot for. And you want to set really high goals or difficult goals. You don't know whether they're high or low, but anyway, difficult goals. And that gets you past mere function.
Yeah, well, I love your insights on this. It's really a new way of thinking for me, a new insight that I am just grateful to soak up. And this is going to guide me. I know, and I suspect others are going to be influenced by this. This idea of moving toward art, getting better, getting more beautiful. That's profound stuff. So thank you very much for sharing that with us today. Before we wrap up, I wonder if you would take a minute and tell people how they can learn more about the Pajama Factory and how they can connect with you. I suspect people will want to talk to you, maybe come visit. There obviously people are going to want to invest in your crowdfunding campaign on Small Change. So give them some guidance on how to do all of those things, if you would.
Well, yeah, I think it's simple. There's our website, pajamafactory.net, N-E-T. And you can reach out to me anytime at mark@pajamafactory.net. I love talking to people about the building, about how it works, how it doesn't work, what my challenges were, what the great moments were. So I invite anybody to say hi. And there is the Small Change. You'll find us right away if you go to smallchange.co, I think it is. So these are all good places to start and look, and we have connections. And yeah, come visit. Give me a call.
Fantastic. Well, Mark, I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. You've been just a phenomenal guest, and we genuinely wish you every success. The work you're doing at community building and real estate is so central, especially a big real estate project like this is so central to the economic vitality of a community. And it provides a venue for community building that's powerful. And so I congratulate you on that and wish you every success in the work that you're doing in Williamsport with your crowdfunding raise. And I would say that it's worth noting that we'll be having a live pitch session for social entrepreneurs and diverse founders at Supercrowd 24. I invite you to apply for that. That application will open up in a few weeks. We'd love to see you qualify for that, but we'll have a fantastic event where Eve, the founder of Small Change, will be speaking at Supercrowd 24. So it's going to be a great 2-day event, April 17th and 18th. And again, the pitch application will be coming up soon, and that's relevant not only to you but to some in our audience who may be interested in pitching as well. But I hope we'll see you at SuperCrowd 24, Mark. It'd be great. But again, let me reiterate: we wish you every success in the great work that you're doing.
Thank you, Devin. Thanks for having me on.
All righty, now let's do some good.